Souls is what makes the game, I think, look beautiful. Like if you just took, if you had really bad lighting in that game, the game would look terrible.
Not to waste time doing things, you know, like sanding under the drawers is what they would Pixar, I think, used to say.
Yeah.
You know, when you don't need to be doing that, you know, when you can be concentrating on stuff that's actually, you know, put the budget on the screen, as it were, as opposed to wasting a lot of time with things that people just don't really notice.
Right.
Do you think
like non-binaries.
The thrown banana game on Steam charts?
Oh, maybe for a day. Maybe for a day, but that banana game is no joke.
Yeah, banana game is pretty good.
POE 2 for this launch, I think you're going to see a player base size of 600 to 900,000 players.
Yeah, I say 1 million. I say the peak will be 1 million.
I think it's going to be somewhere around there. But here's also the big issue. I don't even play it on Steam.
Yeah, on launcher.
I played it through the launcher forever. So, yeah, I feel like it probably will have more people. 600K on Twitch.
Yeah, but fuck launchers, bro. I mean,
now?
you should just get the on Steam.
That's a tricky question. I think that when we go into full release, I think that there's a very good chance that we could end up topping the charts.
Select your character and get ready to defend.
I'm not so sure. I guess we're going to see. I really have no idea what kind of concurrency we're going to get for early access. Like on the one hand, you know, like it is a big. I think it's going to be a big, you know, tentpole release. On the other hand, you know, it is early access, right? Like a lot of people might be afraid to jump in for that reason. But
come on, man, $30. What the fuck?
It doesn't matter. People will play it.
$30.
If the game is good, they'll play it early. Like PUBG was early access. It had 3 million concurrent players.
Yeah, it was $16. Piece of shit.
Yeah, no, doesn't matter.
You know, we are a game that has the content of what a full AAA game would have these days.
Well,
and
it's not true,
also,
it's more.
A much lower price point than what those games would be.
Yes,
the value proposition is incredibly there, and I think we should be able to see some pretty big numbers on launch of early access as well.
I think so too.
Certainly when we get to full release, I'm sure we're going to be topping the charts. I see no reason why we wouldn't be.
Confident, huh?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. 100%.
We're going to buy enough servers for that.
Yeah, you better buy fucking servers. I don't want to stand in line like in Diablo 3.
What needs to be top of the priority?
Stupid fucking Blizzard.
It's honestly a very difficult question because of the fact that a good game is the culmination of getting every little tiny detail right, and it really is that defeat in detail, I think, that makes games feel bad.
The battle is about to start.
It honestly takes a lot of experience to get to the point where people even know what good
5,
looks like.
4, 3,
once again, a lot of
2,
AAA games.
No, not everybody here. What the fuck, bro?
Stop the enemy from escorting the
totally
payload.
Right about this in a game that defeated me in details is Throne of Liberty. Just like the way that you moved and the way you played, I
can't fucking paper, bro.
Straight up.
Ooh, Tourette.
Not for me.
Radar.
Like all of the little things that add together to an experience that isn't good, rather than it being just like one big issue. And I guess a lot of people, when they're analyzing games and why they're not doing well, they want to focus on, oh, this big issue, this big issue. But I really think the gameplay comes down to getting 1,000 small details. And if you do that, the experience will be good. And it's honestly,
that's the thing that a lot of developers don't do, is they don't look at the minute-to-minute gameplay and ask themselves, is this fun?
Flash banger.
They can look at maybe the big picture systems, but the big picture doesn't matter if you're your minute-to-minute gameplay is fun.
Like, I think even we underestimated what it would take to ship Path of Exile 2, because like just getting all those details right, it was very easy to be overconfident, especially at first when we were marketing the game. Because making a fresh game means getting all those details right again. And you know, getting all the like we were really confident about itemization. There's a lot of iteration that was working. Like, we thought, okay, you know, we'll just take care of one future. It required like a huge amount of extra work. You know, like
fucking.
And, like, you get one thing wrong, immediately someone will have a bad experience and they'll say that your game is bad. So it really is all those details that are required to get it done. So yeah, I honestly couldn't point to one thing. It's just like 1,000 things for and knowing what those are.
Yeah, I remember the old plot.
Wow, not dead. Not dead. What the fuck?
That's the most important thing that I've always felt like for games matters the most. Does it feel good to move around and play the game?
Yeah, that's the most important thing.
If the game fails at that, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to play a game like that. And I think that POE, especially like, I mean, you guys know, like if you get the Tailwind buff, holy fuck, it plays so well. It plays extremely well.
Fuck.
Like the 3 seconds of time. something like that.
It's absolutely relevant, right? Like you need to make sure that at every moment you're enjoying.
No fucking way another one came out. Fuck's sake.
Yes,
one thing can
absolutely.
destroy that.
Upgrade.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's like
speed.
throwing Liberty again for me. There were a lot of things about the game that would mean that like I would love this game.
Payload
But
has
the way
reached
that
the
I
checkpoint.
moved and the way that the combat wasn't.
Yeah, it sucked. Throne of Liberty sucks.
That's it. I'm out. Yeah, I don't want to play it.
In some ways, you could say that game development is more about not getting things wrong than it is about getting things right. Like, if you can polish
My
absolutely
God,
every
bro.
little problem that a player might have experience, you can give them a good time, even though, you know, like obviously you need innovation as well, but like it really is important just to not get any of that stuff wrong.
Look at Power World. Power World didn't do shit.
Wow.
They stole everything. Everything was fucking stolen.
Bro, fucking shoot him, bro. What the fuck?
People played it.
Ce retardat.
That's it.
Do.
What makes you so confident that Path of Exile?
Trage, boss.
I guess we've done a lot
Te
of
uiți la
testing
ele ca la
recently,
mașini
and,
străine.
there was
Doamne
something that,
ferește.
took us a
Pula
while
mea
to
cu
get to and
retardați ăștia, că în jocul
But effectively, you know, we've
machine
just
gun
beta
sau cu
tested a lot, we've
SMG,
got a lot of
gata.
events like that, we've got a lot of feedback. You know, it's helped a lot to get a lot more
Târpa asta sus.
And I guess one of the things that also is, you know, a concern when we first were doing all that testing is that
Ah, e autistic, bitch.
Path of Exile 1 players were liking the game as much as new players
Don't
were.
gură să o fut.
So by having, you know, by
I bet
iterating
that's
more,
probably why they made two versions of the game, or they transitioned to that.
make it so those numbers became similar.
I
Makes
kill
me actually
damage.
a lot more confident because I know that someone who knows Path of Exile, who knows how the mechanics should work, is liking the game, and I also know that a new player who takes it on face value is who also doesn't have any experience with, you know, like who doesn't appreciate the game on the level of just like knowing about all the stats and everything, can also enjoy the game as well, and that makes me feel
Cum pula mea n-arata, mă, frate? Dă-l în pula mea de sniper. Morții, mă, te-am arătat, băga mea și pula în gâtul, mă.
This is something that like Elden Ring does very well, is they make the game easy to play for casuals, but also if you want to play it super hardcore, you can do that too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you really can.
Take the risk and lose their own players. Well, I think that with POE 1, there are going to be people that always are going to like POE 1 more,
Eu nu știu cum
because
ratez.
you can just like run through a map super fast with like a lot of like complexities and buffs and, you know, like things like that. But I do think that obviously POE 2 will have probably more lasting power because like that gameplay is kind of one-dimensional.
If we can get both of those things right,
Very one-dimensional.
Yeah, I mean, I already told you during Summer Games Fest. I was really enjoying it. Let's go towards December. I'm
absolutely.
very excited.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You know, Path 2 is coming out. What are some of the pitfalls you want to avoid with Path of Exile 2? And at the same time, what were some of your must-haves when playing an RE?
Yeah, so I mean, the tricky part is that when you make
Optics
a
data.
game, a sequel to a very popular game that has a very hardcore community, every single thing you change about it is like a potential point of friction for a community that's going to be like, can be, you know, incredibly.
Payload has reached
you know,
the checkpoint.
I mean, look, they've got a lot of opinions, right? And so the pitfall that I worry about is, you know, like on day one, you get a bunch of like, even though you know, like new players may play it and enjoy it, you might have a situation where like POE 1 players are like, oh, you know, I don't like this, it doesn't fit to whatever I want. So that is a really big problem. And we were actually very concerned about this because when we first did our user testing closed betas, we actually found that Path of Exile 1 players rated the game worse than what Path of Exile 2 players, what new players did.
Fuck me.
And that was a huge concern, right? Because like, well, we can't really launch like this. This would be a big issue. And so it took us a while to kind of get the game to a point where both POE 1 and players both liked it. But yeah, we started from a point where new players liked it more than old players. And in fact, it was very interesting because
Ce vrei să mă bag cu sniperul în pula mea, de retardat? No, uite ce dobitoc ești. Toți sunteți pe lângă în pula mea. Intră morții, mătii, pe payload dacă vrei să-l oprești. Ai tank, ai brawler în pula mea. Ce dracu, ești retardat? Vine sniperul. Pula mea de handicapat.
Everything's dead instantly, right?
Suntem
And so
morții,
it's like
mătii, de
there's not
prost.
really a lot of thinking. Yeah, there's like autoplay builds, basically, yeah.
Am ratat atâta meciul, fută-l Dumnezeu de sniper.
And it's just because they're trying to apply all the knowledge that they had
Tu-ți raza, mă,
to a game that has different mechanics and different stuff going said, I think that's the biggest pitfall and the biggest potential source of strife we might get at launch is just, you know, a bunch of people. But I think we'll manage
This
to
is
solve
what
it.
happened with Sekiro as well. Like basically in Sekiro, like when it came out, a lot of people that were like Souls fans were like unhappy initially because the game didn't play like Dark Souls. Like you couldn't just dodge it and hit, right?
Problems. There was just a lot of things around itemization and like the way the tree was, and just a lot of things like that that we had to deal with. And so in terms of the stuff that I think that was just really important to get going from the start, yeah, I mean, this endgame stuff, I think that was something that we realized relatively late, that we really have to make sure that, like, you know, if we don't have a good endgame going into early access, then Path of Exile 1 players are just going to say, hey, this is just the worst game. You know, like, we need that stuff to be...
The end game is what really sells POE. Because, like, the people that stick around and play, that's what they really go through. And I feel like that's the most rewarding thing about POE, is the fact that the game for the experience is not just beating the same boss, but there's a bigger number for the boss. That's what I think a huge issue
Yeah,
is.
fuck, you know, that's insane cool
Player
experience.
feel like, oh yeah, you know what, this is a true sequel to POE1, because for a lot of players, completing a campaign is not even a thing for them anymore. They complete it in hours because they've done it so many times. Like for them, it's like just a tiny blip in the progress of the character, right? Because like they spend 99% of their time in in-game. So if we didn't have that, then I think it would have been a disaster.
This is one thing that a lot of MMOs really lack too, is that they don't have, this is also like a lot of live service games in general that are progression based. They don't have
Acum mai sniperul, futu zrasa mă
and
tingit.
then you have the hardcore players that play the game and they're looking for more content,
stai să-mi iau
and
astea,
then they just run out of
uite
things
ăsta.
to do and they quit playing the game.
Lifesaver, bun.
Like Diablo 4 is probably the
termină
best
așa nimic.
example of that, where you've pretty much experienced all of the content in the game after 2 days of playing the game. All you're doing after that is doing the same content with a bigger number. And I don't really think that's really exciting.
No, it's not.
I don't think
Sucks.
that's exciting at all. That sucks.
That's why Wuthering Waves is
yeah,
so
New
good
World,
at this.
New World is also another really great example. Like, New World on release had no end game at all. And so people at 60, like,
Oh, fac mie mâncarea, băga mea și pula să-mi fac.
But like, also like in New World ran into problems at like level 30 to 40, right? Because we just kept doing the same thing over and over.
Fuck's sake, man.
So the reason why POE is working, or something like Elden Ring is a good game, or Elden Ring 3, or Metaphor, or like any of the other good games, it's because you have a measured experience the entire way through, and it's not just you doing the same thing but with a bigger number.
Food is here.
I think that's the way that a lot of difficulty is designed in games now, and it's super fucking boring.
Thankfully, now that we've addressed that concern, we've got stuff, we believe we have enough of an in-game to make those people happy. I think that pitfall will thankfully be avoided, but as I said, it was only a thing that we realized.
The battle ends in 40 seconds. Payload is approaching final destination.
Yeah. I think we're just building UI. We have to make 3 versions of the UI now. We've got the PC version, we've got the console version, and we've got the touch card version.
The battle ends in 20 seconds.
It really just sucked to wait for the other player. When we flipped it, it was just, you know, you could open a full screen menu and the other person just had to wait, basically. And so then we were like, okay, well, this isn't really good enough. Let's add at least inventory. We'll make it so that part will work. But, you know, people want to be able to allocate assets, this and that. Pretty soon we were building every single UI screen.
Victory!
We haven't even finished that yet. Like right now, if you've got 2 players, you can't both shop at the same time.
Yes.
We're still doing things like that. So now we're like, okay, now if you make the shop interface as well on Couch Co-op. And we're pretty much building everything 3 times now. So that's certainly certainly something. But I think it is worth it because people are so excited for Couch Co-op. Like even just around the office, you know, like once our developers knew we were making
Well, that's the one place where POE can get new players. I think POE definitely has the hardcore ARPG Andy locked down, but what they don't have locked down is the casual dad that heard about Diablo 4 because it came on a commercial in between the football game. And so
Nah, that guy doesn't play
so
Diablo,
people
bro.
can play this game and it's more accessible is massive.
A guy that first time hears about video games in a football match won't play. It's too far behind.
People have responded really well to it. Like, you know, ever since the
But
announcement, people just
Diablo is for retards.
So yeah, I think it's worth it.
Yeah,
Just
it's
to
really
be
cool.
fucking stupid not to
like,
be able to play Diablo.
It's just a feature you don't see a lot these days.
For sure,
So the
for
fact
sure.
that it's being included, it kind of like just reminds you that you're
No.
putting a lot of care into Path 2. Path 2 is going to have PvP, right?
It will, but
It'll
it's
be
not.
purposely
It's
balanced.
not really the focus, to be honest.
Still fine.
So every time.
Thank God. Thank God. Just say that. That's see, I love that. I think WoW makes such a huge mistake by trying to make PvP the focus.
Yeah.
If you want
PvP.
isometric PvP, play League.
Yeah, that correct.
Stop trying to put PvP in every game. It doesn't fit.
Or make a PvP only, like
Yeah,
League of
play
Legends.
Dota.
Time we've ever tried to make PvP like a big focus thing, people have kind of found like they enjoy PvE better. So like we'll have PvP still.
Any Hall of the Grandmasters enjoyers? Remember how fucking annoying that was when it was required for the Atlas? Everybody hated that so much.
But,
God.
it's more of a kind of fun thing you might want to do with your friends rather than some big serious competitive thing. Like we're not an esport. That is not our
God forbid.
intention. So yeah. That's
Esport ruins fucking games for casuals or people that want to have fun.
For PvE?
Oh, for PvE? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Genji, nerf to the ground. Right, nerf to the ground. Fuck off.
It's especially hard now because the amount of cross-class synergy that can happen, because we're doing a lot more of the sort of combo type gameplay.
Yeah.
And when we do that, we try to keyword things so that they would work across classes. Yeah. So, for example, you've got something like a power charge, which is something that you can use to improve your abilities. And we try to have power charge mechanics on quite a lot of different classes. And what that means is that we've got to be very careful about what skills, because you can use skills from other classes. You've got to be very careful about how those things can happen, because like you may, when you're balancing something, when you're looking at it, you may just be only thinking, okay, what can this do with the skills that I've brought in this class? But given that you can use things from any class,
Can you believe this guy is
also
actually
can
talking
work
about
with
the
different
gameplay?
stuff, and it can kind
Wow.
of the explosion of different possibilities kind of gets out of control. And,
I think that's definitely true, but that's the fun of PoE, is being able to find a build that's like insanely broken. Like that one, there's like that AFK ultimatum build that used, I think it was called Blood Notch, the gem. That
Select
was
your
so
character
fucking
and get
insane.
ready to defend.
That was nuts.
I mean, I know already that it's just like ultra broken stuff that you could do. So if you use that bell with a sork using Spark, it is broken as hell. Like, you can just chew through any boss right now. So we need to do something about that. But that kind of thing is
Maybe we'll play
certainly
Witch.
tough to deal with.
Yeah.
But we kind of like that stuff.
Yeah, I think maybe we should play
that's
Witch.
what makes it
No,
interesting
warrior.
long term, right?
Don't be
What's
stupid,
your
Asmon.
philosophy in that?
Noted,
Like,
yeah.
you get, I've heard it referred to
Warrior.
as nails on a board. You see one
Barbarian,
bubble too
warrior,
high, you just
berserker.
wanna- Do you like just
Big
let
fucking
it linger
claymore.
for a while before you tap it down?
Right,
where it
right.
needs to be?
So, generally speaking, we don't do nerfs
League
within
adjustments,
a league.
yeah.
Like, whatever the balance is when a season starts, we want to keep that so that people don't feel like they invest time into their character and then for the developer to come along and destroy what they were doing. So I always try to avoid that. But each season, it is okay to be able to do some balance stuff. I don't want to just, like... Whenever we're doing stuff like that, I try to find something that isn't what the players expect as for how we're going to change something. Like, I don't want to just, like, nerf the damage value, right? I mean, sure, you can do that, but it's cool, I think, to kind
Yeah,
of...
it's
come
gonna
up with
suck,
something
bro.
else to
Don't
kind
do
of,
that.
subvert something that's going on and sort of make
Pick
it
a
more
fucking...
interesting.
Like, example of this is like when they capped Detonate Dead. Like, people had a cast on crit version of Detonate Dead that would just create infinite balls and kill anything instantly. And then they capped Detonate Dead at 50,
The battle
50
is about
corpses
to
at a time.
start.
I guess the funny
And
part
that's
is
like, yeah,
Five,
the balls.
4,
Exactly. Oh, sorry.
3,
Volatile Dead.
2,
I
1.
apologize. Yes, it was Volatile
Stop
Dead.
the enemy
not
from
Detonate
escorting the
Dead.
payload.
and I think the reason why the developers just kind of turn into nerf fests with their
Oh,
patches
this guy's
is 'cause
lagging.
It's way easier to see the thing that's broken and nerf it than it is to see the thing that's broken out.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, you don't really, inherently things that are not as powerful get less attention.
Yeah, of course.
Not on your mind. And so, yeah, the ability to sort of notice that stuff and buff it is actually quite hard to sort of get into the mindset of doing.
Yeah, and there's the sort of dance with players where you want them to feel that power.
For sure.
But then you also got to scratch with each season of the game. How do you like, are you like, okay, this thing
I think the reason why it stays fresh
Whoa!
is
I
that
forgot about
there are
these.
so many options. In Diablo, I feel like if I'm gonna play a warrior in Diablo, there's like 3 things that
You
I
can't,
can
you
do.
can play Berserker.
But in PoE, there's like 300 things that I can do.
Wow.
And the way that you play, let's say, a Cyclone Slayer is a lot different than the way that you play a, Necromancer, for example. And I think that's really what the big difference is. It's the different play styles and the way that the different play styles play into the way that you interact with the league.
You go with all in. Next season, Bewitch.
It does kind of end up going like that. Like, with each time, it's different between
Yeah.
but you've always got to make sure that you're around the whole game. So ideally, with the way we do game design, whenever we add something to the system, because everything has a combination, it means that it generally will affect the abilities of the classes. Like, you know, when we add a league and so on.
This is whenever they added in the
Stop moving.
what do you call it? The Arc Nemesis mobs, or like whatever the fuck they were, where like they just had like infinite scaling health
fuck
because
this.
of multipliers.
That does keep I think more so than most thing where
Speak again.
almost any system can interact with another system. And that is what leads to the complexity that like Path of Exile's kind of always for. But it does mean that it does keep the game fresh every time people keep coming back. So ideally we can kind of tame the complexity while still keeping that element. But it is pretty tough.
That you're really proud of.
Oh yeah, people didn't like this
It
league.
isn't really
Nice,
my
nice, nice.
thing. Like I'm not working on Path of Exile 1, so I'm kind of aware of it
Payload, bro.
in the studio. But probably the main issue that we had with Necropolis, I think, was that
Nu știu dacă e bună astea, dacă nu. O să vezi că e bună.
brokenness in the economy specifically. Like there were things that certain players were able to do to get like ridiculous amounts of wealth really easily, and that kind of broke the economy a little bit. The funny thing about it was that at the start, people thought that we'd nerfed everything to the ground and thought there'd be no like oh you've nerfed all these things, there's nowhere to get like good items. So then we started getting all these different economic exploits popping up that led to doing stuff. I think that led to some sort of issues there. That's kind of the main one from my perspective because it's kind of what we've been dealing with as a there were just a lot of those kinds of exploits early on.
How
in the
many?
league,
Fucking shots.
and, so that's been kind of a bit annoying. So yeah,
It's true that the
Cuckoo,
economy
surprise.
matters a lot for players because the economy is a progression system too. Like being able to buy gear, like most people I would assume that play POE seriously, play it semi-seriously, the main way that they interface with gear upgrades is by buying them. So if the economy's bad, the game's bad.
Is that, we really need to be doing more extreme. The most broken possible thing to do. Really concentrating on that, because otherwise it can lead to these kinds of problems. And I think
God, this fucking world is annoying.
They just kind of weren't really thinking about it in that way as much. Like they tended to look at things and be like, okay, just feel balance in the context of like the other stuff you're using with, without really thinking as much about like what is the worst possible case for this and really zeroing in on that. So yeah, we had a lot of issues around that, and I think that's part of what sort of happened with Necropolis.
With Path 2, what's like your favorite quality of life thing that you're introduced with?
Damage
The
numbers.
battle ends in 40 seconds.
In my mind.
I want damage
What's
numbers.
something that you're really happy with?
To me, the best QOL stuff is just the way the new skill gem system works. It's just so much easier.
I think the biggest QOL from like a player perspective is damage numbers and WASD movement. That's insane. Massive
The
fucking
battle
improvement.
ends in 20
And then
seconds.
the other thing is no piano flasks. Yeah. Like piano flasks was stupid. It was a stupid design. And it just kind of happened over time.
Eu n-am treabă, putem să stăm aici până mâine.
Also, this is just what we're doing at the moment, but the support gem system working
Damage
out
numbers
is
with health bar? Yeah.
so much easier to deal with.
That's what I'm saying.
Overtime.
I don't know if the build that you've got has all of the stuff here, but like seeing the changes that happen to your character as you add each thing, like that stuff is really nice. It just makes building so much easier. So I mean, you know, there's like a million things I could say. But that's kind of what I'm thinking about.
Victory.
Story-wise for
Not even
Path
the first
2,
checkpoint,
have
bro.
you put more focus into it, knowing that like you're gonna have more people playing together.
For sure. I don't know if you noticed the changes that were even made in the build. You probably didn't play quite far enough to really understand that, but we're doing a lot more with that stuff. I think we're doing a lot better job than POE 1 did, and I do hope that by the time people get through Path of Exile 2, they will at least know what the story was, which was not the case for a lot of Path of Exile 1 players.
People had
yeah,
no idea.
do better there. But there's also even other things like we've changed the dialogue system quite a bit from how it was in POE 1. There's still more changes coming even.
I hope it has Japanese voice lines.
Yeah, it is something that I want people to be able to consider good in the game.
One thing that I really liked about POE 1 is that like whenever you're on the shores and you click on the rocks and you click on things like, for example, like the Duresso's Dream, those are just like two examples I can think of off the top of my head, that basically what you do is you click on them and then they'll like play dialogue and you can walk away and you can keep playing the game while the dialogue is playing.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think that a big issue that a lot
Genshin
of games
is
have
that.
with lore is that the lore ends up cannibalizing gameplay.
yeah.
Which
I think that frustrates players.
I think had
Yeah, it
some
makes you quit the
environmental
game.
stuff going on, but I wouldn't say that like the overall narrative was
Actually, not the
was,
game
like, a lot of
entirely,
people
but
skipped
the
it and weren't
session.
really interested, and I think that yeah, we can definitely do better there.
What's the greatest lesson you learned from playing other people's games?
That they suck.
I guess it's
Especially
very
the Western
different depending on
devs.
the type of game.
Warm-up
I guess one of the
phase.
things
Whoa,
that I mostly
shit.
focus on is the fact that like whenever new games come out, you really need to be cognizant of the new minimum bar that they're setting. And even if you're not necessarily going to, you don't want to copy what they're doing necessarily.
This is what people are complaining about with Baldur's Gate 3. Remember that?
But I think you've got to look at it as like, what is the thing that
Yeah.
The warm-up phase
standard
is
this
about to
game
end.
set? You know, we know how to meet this, you know, so something like so we've got a doctor obviously I mentioned that you could get away without, I think, launching
3,
an RPG today.
2,
I think it just wouldn't
1.
work. There is a
Battle
minimum standard for
start.
that kind of level of controllability.
Exactly. And I think Lost Ark set that standard.
First blood.
After I played Lost Ark with the roll, I was just like, okay, this is better. It's straight up, it's just better. And then Diablo 4 had it, just better experience. It's literally that simple.
You need to meet it, and the same is true of many other systems like trade and the way item system work and a bunch of other
Yeah.
things. So yeah, it's just before you're meeting that new minimum, because the minimum is raising all the time, right? With every game that comes out, there's something new that players want to do.
Bro, fucking shotgun,
What's your
bitch.
favorite game of all time and why?
Oh jeez, that's always a hard one. I mean, if I really had to, if you're putting me on the spot, it's the first.
Come
thing
on,
that comes to
brawler.
mind is Half-Life.
Oh,
Fox is dead.
It's the stuff you play when you're a kid, right? That it's like, this is the greatest game ever.
I
Ce-o
never
pe
played
radarul
Half-Life
aici,
when I
să-mi
was a
bag
kid.
pula în el.
When I was a kid, it was, my favorite games were Final Fantasy VII.
Ca și cum ai avea
Half-Life,
wall
and
într-una.
StarCraft, right? These are
okay.
Team shield enhancement
There's no
activated.
fucking way I get in the middle of this shit.
right? And so it's very hard to look past
Pretty
that
good.
when, nothing else compares to that first experience you have with those kinds of things. Yeah, Half-Life might
This
be
is closer.
one of the more probably
Yeah.
slightly up there above the other ones.
How'd you never play
You
it?
might expect me to say Diablo,
Computer wasn't that
which
good?
obviously was a big deal, but like honestly, when I was a kid, it was those other ones.
Yeah, when I was a kid, and I know we're wrapping up here, but I got the Brood War chest.
Oh yeah, nice.
Fuck me.
Okay, just real quick on this last interview. This was one of the earliest interviews I did, and my microphone was not working during it,
Oh,
so I did
good.
audio
The
pickups,
leading
which may
team
sound a
has
little bit
reached
disjointed,
20
but
points.
I'm basically repeating what I asked. What's the most important thing in an RPG to get
Is,
right?
doi, doi dracu.
I don't know that I counted this one thing because really I said there's 5 major things. So the number 1 is right? You can't have like an MMO style combat, it needs to be action focused. Another one is random item generation. The random items are super important, you need to get that right. Very few games actually do.
They very rarely do. This is the big issue that a lot of games
Trece,
have, is
bufa.
that loot is boring. Straight up, loot is boring.
Dracu, nu mă mă de la
I feel like
focul ăla,
that's
du-te
the reason why
morții,
Diablo
mătii.
4 fell off so much when it came out. It's like the damage on Tuesday.
E, drac.
Random levels are important because
Da, una după alta.
The
Una după alta
showdown has
veniți, mă.
begun.
Una după alta veniți, băgați ai pula măta.
once again a lot of things
Cum mă spun eu între ei, băga mea și pula măta.
Another one is secure online economy. So effectively, you have a secure item system. If you don't have the ability to trade items between players, then people just won't value them the same way as if they can themselves. And then the
Fuck's
last
sake.
one, what is
Yep.
Speria de
that?
asta, să-mi fac
Exactly.
pula mea.
That's the reason why I hated Reaper of Souls in Diablo 3. When you couldn't trade items, I thought that was so stupid. Like, why not? He's making solid points. Yeah, this guy's
Moro.
shit. I mean, let's be
Oh.
real. Because bossy, exactly. I love free trading with no restriction.
Team super
I don't
string
want any
enhancement
restriction on
activated.
Why would I want a restriction on trading? Just let me, if I want to give something to somebody, just let me do it. Who cares?
The leading team has reached 30 points.
Character customization. You have to have the ability to have a large amount of character customization so that if you're playing the game over and over again, you're going to have a lot of different ways to play it to experience every time. So to me, those are the 5. That's how you make an action RPG right there.
Yeah.
We've said this at GDC talks before, and there's still action RPGs come out. They don't have one of those. And I'm kind of like, we're giving you
Fuck your
secret sauce,
shields.
guys. That's how you do it.
I don't know why that happens.
癒しちゃうわよ
People always try to reinvent the wheel, and it's always like just a square. It's like something so
Like, oh yeah, we're gonna change everything. Like, stop, no, don't change it. Just add the loot in. I know you think it's a great idea. Stop it. It's not. Super amazing.
Is it inspiring to see so many successful ARPGs on the market right now?
I think it is good because a rising tide is all boats, and especially with the kind of RPGs do well, do best with. People
The enemy needs 10 more kills to win.
But,
準備 OK よ
the big thing to me
癒し
that
ちゃうわ
I've
よ
found is that
Ia kill,
when
fă.
new games come out like that, they kind of set a new minimum standard, and we have to make sure we're meeting that standard. Like if they have features that players can that means that we have to make sure we're adapting to what that new minimum is.
That's something
The
that was
enemy
so good
needs
for
5
Final
more
Fantasy
kills to
14
win.
Being really popular. Is that Final Fantasy 14 made WoW a better game? Because there were a lot of features that a lot of modern MMOs had. WoW never adopted them because those games
No fucking
never got
way.
popular.
The enemy
But
needs
as
1
soon as
more
people
kill to
actually
win.
got
Da,
tired
crezi
of,
că e echipa cu
you
ea, că
know,
mă
like,
tăiam
really
pe
annoying
rană.
rollbacks or
Victory!
you know, having to like refarm a bunch of annoying systems and like having things be account. I think things being account wide is probably one of the biggest things that WoW adapted to the marketplace with. Is that back in the day everything was character defined, and then I think that because people started playing other games like Lost Ark and Final Fantasy 14, you saw people going and being like, listen, why? Like, I already did this annoying grind on one character. I don't want to do this on 2 characters. Like, fundamentally, this just isn't fun, right? And I think this is why competition in an industry and in a space is so important. Because when you have other people coming up with ideas and you have to meet the standard that they're setting, that's better for the consumer.
Oh no, unless it's woke.
So, that makes it
Select
count,
your
right? Like, there are
character
things we
and
could
get
have gotten away
ready
with
to
before
defend.
October comes out, and then
Unless
October
it's
comes
woke,
out,
bro.
and things go down, but, like have once again raised the minimum standard. We now have to meet that standard as well. We have to care about that. So that kind of thing, yeah, it matters a lot. And we,
Holy tits.
as I said, we have to pay attention.
Can you give me an example
And
of
it's
something?
also like Last Epoch had good ideas. You know, like if you see another game that has a better idea than your game, why would you want to keep the bad idea in your game?
Like
That
DEI.
seems crazy. Why would you like, oh, well, yeah, but it's our idea. Yeah, but it's your idea, but it's bad. Why would you do that?
Because
the
they're
loot
fucking
filter, exactly,
stupid, bro.
ego.
Because
Yeah,
they're woke.
well, that's what ends up getting you to lose.
Woke piece
Blizzard
of
loves
shit.
to do that, though. Yep, they do. They do. And I tried for years to stop that shit, and it would never work. They do it
Someone else
successfully.
is doing
They
that
use-
you really like?
Right. So a really good example of this is the trade stuff they have in Last Epoch, where that isn't to say that we want to copy what they're doing with trade, but the key thing is that there was clearly a community demand to make trade easier to and when there isn't another game that's
The battle is
like
about
the trading
to start.
feature is huge, and you can see how they adapted to that. And
5,
this is the difference between
4,
good game developers
3,
and great game
2,
developers.
1.
Holy
They
shit.
didn't
Stop
do
the
what Last
enemy
Epoch
from
did.
escorting the
They
payload.
added a marketplace currency system in the Settlers of Calgar leak. A lot of times the problem, the solution that players have isn't actually the best. The problem that they have is legitimate. And I think that's the difference. Bounce to CZ, yes, there you go.
get away with it with experience. It's like, well, we have to do something about this, right? We have to make sure that we don't allow that to meet the new minimum standard. Otherwise, people are just going to be complaining about it, and they're right to, right?
Yeah, and they were, because like the trading currency in POE is terrible. Because like you're either responding, you're spam messaging people that have already sold the product, they're offline, or they're not responding to you, or you're messaging a bot. It's a shit system. I think that like the trading, like the bartering economy of POE with gear is great, but the currency marketplace is not. And POE agreed. There it is.
Once other games in the genre
Easy.
that's not us.
When watching streams, do you ever see things you want to address like this?
this actually is something that I can personally attest to. Is that
loads.
there's a number of times where GGG has seen my stream or video about a topic, and they've even responded to me about it. People are actually watching what people are saying and listening to feedback.
It's honestly just watching the people who are playing
Yeah.
here.
Yes,
They ran into it and be like, oh god damn, you know, like we really should have done something about that. It's you know, it's painful, but you have to do it. Like the user testing, seeing what people actually do.
Yeah.
Is super.
Does Path of Exile 2 feel vastly different from Path of Exile?
Well, I would definitely say so. To me, and like that's kind of what I guess.
I think that the early game combat is probably going to feel a lot better. And I think that Diablo, like super early, pre-in-game gameplay, I actually think Diablo 4 is better than PoE 1. And I think that PoE 1 doesn't overtake Diablo 4 until you get into in-game
Payload
with
has
different
reached
types of
the
features and
checkpoint.
functionalities. In terms of like, and no, this is the way that I feel, right? And the reason why I think it's better is because of the more deliberate, visceral, like, action in Diablo versus PoE. Whereas PoE, I think, is a little bit more, like, stunted, and I don't really like it. I even felt this in Diablo 3.
If you go to forums about like the new release of new customers,
Yeah, I think so
one of the
too.
top comments outside of our community is always, oh, you know, I tried that game, but I just thought it felt really bad.
Yeah.
Like, I want to make sure that that is the
Thank you.
Don't,
Because, yeah, PoE 2, the
Ah,
combat
încă un și-a pus
I'm
mai
gonna
dau
be real,
rate of
guys. I
fire.
think it looks way better than
SP.
Diablo 4.
Wow. Almost
Like,
speed.
it's not even
Extra
close.
damage.
It just looks way better.
Aoleu.
have that criticism anymore. I just don't want to see it again. And so, you know, that's why I'm really motivated to make sure that we're fixing that. But I think we can still even do more than
Can you tell us more about why you delayed the beta?
it just comes down to the fact that
O prins, mă.
we didn't appreciate the degree to which
Radarul ăla, dați jos toate radarul.
It wasn't. Okay.
Dracu.
we're still going to get all the content that we said we were going to, like the content we said we were going to have, like that will be ready. There'll be a whole game there. It's just that like the level of polish. So we actually went like,
Yeah, I'll watch that.
demo here, and we're going to get Act 1 and 2.
Oh, ai dat ultimata, bro, nu. Shouldn't done that.
Now, but I mean, something here. We, I guess, demanded ourselves at this point is just higher than
Pula mea point aici dacă nu e
does
nimic.
not does not need this level of attention. It's kind of shocking.
So you're saying that the PoE
Oh, a murit? Ah, nu, el a
is
murit.
not even your final form.
Damn.
I guess like so they're only going to Super Saiyan 1 or 2, whereas in the other hand, Diablo 4,
Damn, son. Fucking nuts ăsta, man. What the fuck?
you know, like that's basically where we're at. I'm just saying. Yamcha, yeah, right? Oh god.
It's just like so many subtle details of AI, and so on, all sort of stuff. And then the other side of that is player skills, where once again, getting them to actually feel really, really
Oh,
good.
yeah, don't play, don't play.
Just thought.
AFK is better.
Payload has reached the checkpoint.
Thank you for being AFK, bro.
When
Nobody less than the fucking healer.
change player skills, sometimes the result of that is like we have to go through every monster and boss again and change the AI and abilities and all that sort of stuff now to take into account for that. So when we added active block, it's like well, suddenly we have a way to know that a skill is going to be not active blockable. So that means we have to not only do we have to rethink like every skill, but okay, well, this
You don't really have to think about that. All you have to do is do the industry standard. Active block that you can't block is... Okay.
Vreau să dau rost măcar pe aia, fă în gură.
There you go. That's the industry standard. Everybody knows that. If it's a red attack, you can't block it.
I have enough abilities that, you know,
Delay as much as possible.
They did that? I know.
For this character class,
Because it
you know,
works.
do we have the indicators we need? Do we have to find out all that stuff and suddenly comes in? So it's like you change it for the class and all the content is and yeah, I've seen that sort of rippled out. You know? But on the other hand, we just showed you a mouth, and I don't know if it's fully that's what I've read, so
Didn't grenade.
you know, like
Didn't.
something just to
It
look cool
didn't.
that way. But recently we've been trying a lot more. I mean,
Neko-chan.
stash tabs is a thing, which is one of those things that's kind of on the borderline, but this is a reasonable amount. But then the other one, recently we've been doing more things that involve like they trigger off gameplay.
You know you can stop the payload, right?
Payload is approaching final destination.
Yeah, it's like the king
Critical strike, you get like sister effect hand that comes down from the heavens
Kill
and
effects,
slams down and this kind of stuff. Like it's stuff that kind of like interacts with gameplay. And I think that for a long time our microtransactions were entirely visual and they didn't really have those interesting kind of interaction with the gameplay, which was a mistake. And the big change we made was we started doing our gameplay like microtransactions rather than having a separate team.
Yeah, that makes sense. I had a Righteous Fire, and there were a couple of effects that that was okay to use microtransactions. It looked really good, but it had I remember when I played Warriors, I microtransactions with Freezing Pulse just because it wasn't as bright.
We need game designers to work on them.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff has helped a lot. So that sort of broadens quite a bit. Anything that's kind of cool that just happens during gameplay, I think the players really like.
What's your thoughts on microtransactions? Have you seen them handled poorly?
I mean, the main thing really
Have you seen that? Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, I would say so. Actually, yeah, there's a few examples I got.
It may seem obvious, but the ultimate downside of anything that you sell is that you are incentivized as a developer to not make that.
Yeah, there it is. Listen to this, guys.
Good for free.
He's so right about this.
Anything that you
Yeah,
sell
he's so right.
is that you are incentivized as a developer to not make that thing good for free. You know what I mean? And so you could.
Yep, that's right. Absolutely. Where he watches you? I know that John will probably see my stream a few times. But to be honest, this is a common sense reality that any reasonable, intelligent person would have come to. Like, he didn't need to watch my stream. It's common sense.
The battle
Monetizing
ends
something
in 40
incentivizes
seconds.
you not to have the unmonetized version be worse. Of course. Because you want to upsell people. It's obvious. Yeah. The brass dome.
The battle ends in 20 seconds.
Really cool.
Fly.
You know, Phoenix shield looks really cool, but
Sorry, bro. But there is no way.
like, yeah, I think they should add in. It would be really cool if they added in cosmetic armor sets that you could get.
Victory!
from bosses. I would love that. Death's Oath. Oh, I don't know what that looks like.
Shogun-sama.
I think that that's like, we do try anyway, of course, but at the same time, like that's the thing
Tabula
that you have to
rasa.
worry about.
Yeah.
I think a lot of games, yeah, like they
Tabula
may
rasa.
go into things where the philosophy is, oh, we can sell this thing and it's not going to be a problem. But then there's this just sort of subtle effect that it has on all your game design where it just infects things and kind of just like it influences how the game is placed. The moment that
Yeah, it's fucking right.
the moment that monetization touches it, it's kind of like it gets a bit corrupted by it.
Yes, bro. Oh my god.
So
Yep.
yeah, that's really. I don't know if I have any like exact specifics
Fucking
on a specific game to
obviously.
really call out and shame here, but that's kind of the main thing. So like even when you look at
This is the reason why I think that a lot of people lose interest with live service games too, is they realize that are like, and you know what my favorite thing about this is? It's like the I don't want to get religious here, but it's like God with original sin. Oh yeah, so Jesus had to die for original sin? Why? Why not just get rid of it?
Yeah.
So it's like you have this crazy system put together that it's like, yeah, so we have to have the energy system
Such a fucking
so
crazy
then
guy.
you can't do too many items. Like, well, why do you have this system to begin with? Like, well, we need to have autoplay so you can do these activities that take a long time. Well, why do you have the activities in the first fucking place?
Well, for microtransactions,
If
of
this
course.
is all autoplay gameplay, what the fuck? Why? Are
Yeah,
they
but
here?
you can
And so
accelerate
that's
the
my
autoplay.
favorite part of it is when like
If
a
you buy
developer,
premium.
they've created this world.
Fucking
that,
War Thunder. Fuck.
well, it has to be shitty. No, this is just the way it is. No, it doesn't. Get rid of the whole thing.
Yeah.
A good example is this isn't a microtransaction, depleting keys in Mythic Plus.
Yeah.
Why?
It's fucking.
No reason. Yep. It's create problems to sell the solution. Yep. Isn't Stash the same thing? Yeah, but it's a free game, so fuck you, buy the tabs.
Yeah.
You want to play the game seriously? Put $60 into the game, the same as you would for any other fucking game. Spend the amount of money that you would spend on Diablo 4 for Stash tabs, and you're gonna have more fun than you would with Diablo 4. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
It's
Makes
fun.
sense. It makes
It's
sense.
not a
If you
big
spend $80, $90 on a game that you waste 1,000 hours, then it's fine.
But the fact that we sell Stash tabs, so the original
Wait,
reason
here's the
why
reason why I'm fucking angry. It's because people act like Stash tabs are the same as being able to buy 5-star pulls in a gacha game. It's not the same fucking thing.
Of course not. Gacha game is a fucking
because if
gamble
you-
and
if
it
we
could be
didn't sell
endless
Stash tabs,
failure.
What people would do is create more free accounts because you can just create as many
Yeah.
accounts as you want in a free play
Mules.
game. You can just effectively create more
Yeah.
accounts and have more Stash anyway in a more inconvenient manner. So then we're like, okay,
I did
well,
this in
people
Diablo
are gonna
3.
do this anyway, so therefore
You guys probably did in Diablo 2
selling
too.
of that isn't going to be an issue.
We did in
And
World
it
of
isn't
Warcraft
for the
too.
most part an issue, I think. But at the same time,
I had like my alt, my
you'll see
bank
a
alt,
game
my
designer and they'll say something
chemical
like,
alt,
"Oh,
my
like, it's fine if the
blacksmithing
player
alt,
doesn't
my
stack
auction
the
house
items,
alt.
You know, they'll put it in
Jesus
the stash
Christ.
and that'll sell more Stash tabs. And I'm like, no, we need to
It's all
really,
fucking annoying
even
to switch
just that
between
is
them.
immediately
Wow.
making a thing, like someone is saying this because of the business model. They should never be doing that. Like we want
Exactly.
to
Warm-up
Yeah,
phase.
and this is the problem. It's that when a store is introduced into a game, the game now becomes revolving, or the game now revolves around the store. If you look at Lost Ark, any gacha game, any game that has like an in-game store, the moment that the store comes in
The
there,
warm-up phase
it
is about to
immediately
end.
has the critical mass that makes everything revolve around it. That's what's bad. BDO? I don't know enough about BDO.
Video has inventory slots.
3,
Purchase.
2, 1.
And weight limit.
Battle start.
By the way,
start.
people say we can protect this guy. I guarantee you that Jonathan is great, but the guys at From Software,
First blood.
a lot of the guys at Capcom, the guys at Larian, there are a lot of studios out there
Oh, this guy,
that think
bro.
the exact same way. Like, just because we have, you know, like these AAA professional dip eater companies like EA out there, doesn't mean that there aren't people that are making good games that have nothing to do with that.
I don't have any
Anytime I
more
see that, I'm
drones,
kind of
sorry.
like, no, we really have to not fall down that hole. But even just for something as simple as what we do have,
This is
you
like
know,
fighting
already,
in,
like, you know,
Apex.
I've heard people say something like
squad.
that, like, no, you can't do this. It's a very important
Bruh.
thing. and we try as much as possible and never before. The best way we can do that is by not introducing any pay-to-win elements as much as possible.
Why is Path of Exile still it's more popular than ever right now?
Because it's good.
Nobody enters.
Pretty simple. It's good. So like, if you look at a lot of the games that are popular, they're good. You look at a lot of the games that aren't popular,
Wind bomb.
they're bad.
That's a wind bomb. Ooh.
There it is.
It's been pretty much consistently increasing in player base since we did
Team
our league
shield
model,
enhancement
the 3-month
activated.
cycle and so on. But I think ultimately the important reason is because we do those 5 things and very few games do it. I can name on very few titles that actually do all of that and then actually follow up with that season releases. So
He's
other
Russian guy, bro.
games that don't, like for example, Last Epoch doesn't have random areas, at least not like in the way that Path of Exile does.
Yeah.
And I think that if they don't do something about that, that could be something that's going to hurt them, because I think that kind of thing will...
He's right. And I think that Last Epoch knows that. So like, the developers from Last Epoch are actually really smart and they care about their game a lot. I'm sure they're going to have that. Like, Last Epoch, obviously, I mean, if you remember, like, POE's been in development for 10 years. So, yeah, of course it's going to happen.
detriment in the long run. And like, once again, it's just one of those things that, like, when we like,
Epoch's so good. It's a really good game.
Same team. No, not same team. I was wondering how many players are in a...
Which also have all these things. Diablo 2, you know, was very high tempo inside of that video.
Totally fucking copied Diablo 2. I remember looking at POE 1. I remember, dude, I probably told this story 50 times.
The leading
I came
team
home from
has
my
reached
dad's house
20
and I watched
points.
my favorite streamer, Precarian, playing a game, talking to some bald guy named Chris Wilson, like, oh, what, like the soccer ball from Castaway? And he was in a cave in Act 2 fighting bears. And I was watching him play it, and I thought he was playing Diablo 2. I need to, so I don't know if I did say this, I think once or twice. I recorded a review of Path of Exile while it was in closed beta in like 2012. And I never released it. I need to eventually put it out.
Oh, wow, that's the one on spot.
The showdown has begun.
I need to
Beware
watch it
the
one day.
reverse
Release
string
it for
storm.
POE2 official launch. Maybe I will. Yeah, show it. I've got to find it somewhere. But yeah, I thought it was Diablo 2. Obviously, they took a lot from Diablo 2, but that's fine. Yeah, I don't give a shit. If it's better, then that's it.
Speracul nu a fost headshot ăla.
Is also one of the longest lasting games. Like, that game was being sold in stores. Obviously, this is back when, you know, people actually went into stores and bought
For
games.
10 years.
This was still being sold in stores like 10 years
Yeah,
after
exactly.
it came out.
Yeah, like the Diablo 2 box, like collector's edition, like where it had like Diablo 2 and like the Lord of Destruction. How many of you guys have like the vivid picture of your mind of going to Circuit City, Best Buy, or Walmart and seeing it? Yeah, everybody had it, except me.
It's absolutely crazy. So like, it really shows you that those 5 pillars really do get you a lot.
The leading team has reached 30 points.
Have you been playing?
So at this point, I have to admit I don't play much Path of Exile 1. I actually find it very hard to get back to because the combat is just so much worse.
I missed.
I just can't really do it anymore. But POE 2 I play every night. You have to, right? Like every night I spend my evening playing the game. My son really enjoys watching it. It's just because like, I need to see the kind of changes, and because every time you play a boss, every time you play everything, you just learn a little bit more and a little bit more, and you have to keep on iterating on it. So yeah, I pretty much have to
I'm tanking.
but I mean, I enjoy it, right? Like it is fun to do, and especially it's great seeing all of the new things that get added and like all the new things that come in. Like it's actually great. And, like every time I see a new thing, I'm like, oh yeah, that's so cool.
pretty
like,
good.
Those little elements, so that's really fun. But I have to admit, I don't play POE 1 anymore, and the person who does is Mark.
Ow.
He is therefore much more involved in Path of Exile 1, but at this point, as I said, it's hard to go back to.
What's a non-RPG that you play and really like?
I mean, other
Elden
than
Ring.
Balatro.
Say Elden Ring.
Okay, what was the most recent thing? Oh, so the most recent one I was playing was
recent.
Prince of Persia, that new Prince of Persia game that came out.
Great game. Really good game. I'm so sad that they closed the studio that made that The Lost Crown. That's the one he's thinking about.
Fuck.
I love it. The other Lost Crown, yeah. So that one's pretty interesting to me. I think that there's a lot of really interesting
You're
content
missing out
in
on
that
the
game.
Lost Crown?
I was
Shut
paying
up.
attention to it quite a lot. Even though, as I said, totally different genre, but I think that
The
there's a lot
enemy
to
needs
learn
10
from these
more
kinds of action
kills
games
to
and
win.
looking at the sequences and some of the ways things combine and so on. And I think obviously got a lot of like aerial type not applicable to us at all, but it's very interesting to look at something like that. And also when you look at a
Am
boss in a
spadam
game
ja
like that,
shield am
it's
frezam
sort of
po ime.
just instant inspiration you can take. So that's probably the most recent one that I played that I was really kind of like thought was really good. But it is honestly hard to find AAA games these days.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah. In a game, so that was amazing.
Team weapons
Jonathan
enhancements
Rogers and everybody
activated.
at Grinding Gear Games for letting us play the game, letting me get a chance to sit down with Jonathan to talk a little bit about Grinding Gear Games and Path of Exile 2. If you want to play Path of Exile, you can get access on December 6th if you are a supporter. I believe it was $480 in the original Path of Exile. You get
5 more
access.
kills to win.
And if you pay $30, you can just get early access. Otherwise, when the game fully launches, it's completely free. So check it out. Let me know what you think.
1 more kill to win.
For more on Path of Exile, check out my most recent preview about the Missionary, or the one about the witch, or the one
Victory!
about the Wizard.
I also
And for
has
more on
pistol.
this game, keep it right here at IGN.
This is a great video. By the way. This guy asked me
Yeah,
a lot
very
of
good
questions,
video.
Especially at this beginning interview. This was like actually S tier questions. Like, yeah, I'm gonna link you guys the video. This was amazing. WIGN.
IGN did this?
Well,
IGN
I
did that.
already was planning on doing this, but now I'm going to have to do this.
What?
I have to get the channel partnered now. To celebrate the launch of Path of Exile 2 in early access, we'll be running 2 weeks of Twitch drops. To support our community streamers, we'll be offering the Chimera Pet for purchasing or gifting 2 Twitch subscriptions of any tier. Fuck. Oh, God. The reason why, actually, here's the real reason why. It's because the bitrate is bad.
Yeah.
And this is going to be like a super high definition, high bitrate game. And I don't want it to be like when I played Vampire Survivors.
Get better
So
internet.
I'm probably going to fill out the paperwork tonight or tomorrow. And we're getting partnered. I guess I'm going to have to make money. I'm going to have to make probably over $100,000 a month again. It's awful. Very annoying. But also, by the way, so this is another thing that's very funny. You guys don't need to worry about ads because I pretty much always have the sensitive social issues tab on. So how many of you guys got a pre-roll watching my stream?
I don't know, bro. I don't think I'm gonna watch your stream. I'm gonna watch your YouTube videos, but I'm gonna play the fuck out of Path of Exile and Marvel Rivals. Can't wait for that.
Nope, not me. It's actually crazy. That's wow. It's crazy how that turned out. It's crazy how everything pretty much just turned out being good for me, huh?
Yeah, it's funny because everybody says Asmongold is a piece of shit. Not everybody. You know, the wokies, the people that don't like beautiful women or good games. Imagine having those guys invited over at your Christmas dinner. You would shoot yourself. And that's just it. They can't stand him, our guy Asmon. So he is now on partnership with Path of Exile. So we're gonna get a lot of content from him with this. My God, it's so difficult because I have to work Saturday. Fuck. Yeah. Oh man, I wanna play Path of Exile and I wanna play Marvel Rivals with Psylocke. The new Shogun-sama. Everybody's it's once there is a woman with purple hair, long purple hair, and she wields a katana, and she's a Shogun-sama. No question. Oh, food time. Food time. Enough chit chat, enough gaming, food time.